What's up, y'all? My name is Devin, the DIY lawn coach. Hope you're doing well. Hope things are going well for you. Welcome back to another video in the Can I series. In this series, we are answering a bunch of really popular questions that DIYers have, some that are deemed controversial. Can I seed in the spring? Can I mix fertilizers? Can I apply grass seed and pre-emergent at the same time? And in today's video, we're going to answer the question, can I change the pH of my soil? Let's get into the video. All right, let's get into the video. So first, thank you so much for checking out another video in the Can I series. Hopefully you're finding it helpful. Hopefully we're answering some of the really popular questions that you might have. So if I am, please consider subscribing to the channel and give that video a like. I greatly appreciate it. It helps me understand if you guys are liking the videos. Now, before we get started, I need to talk about what pH is, how we measure it, why it's even important. Then we can talk about, can you change it? Now, it's important to understand, I am not a professional and I do not know everything there is to know about pH. You know, I've been taking care of my lawn for the last 15 years and have a ton of experience adjusting my pH here in Western North Carolina, and I really do get some fantastic results. And we'll talk a little bit later in the video about where you can go to get some advice on how to adjust your pH. All right, so what is pH? Well, pH stands for potential hydrogen. And really, it's just a measure of the acidity or alkalinity in your soil. So how acidic or how alkaline your soil is. And it goes from a range of 0 to 14. Hang on one second. Let me go get something that'll help us out. All right, so I'm not great at drawing, but I made this little diagram here to kind of show you what I'm talking about. So here is a diagram, and you can see 0 is acidic and 14 is alkaline, and 7 is what is considered neutral. So in our soil, we want a pH anywhere between 6 and 7.5. This is what we call the good zone. So anything that is outside of this zone down on here would be considered an acidic soil, and anything on this side is considered an alkaline soil. Now, why is this important, and why do we even care about what the pH of our soil is? Well, different grasses like to grow in certain soil types. So depending on where you live and where you're located in the country, your soil has a natural pH, just, you know, the way God intended it. Without any intervention, what kind of pH you have in your soil. So as I mentioned, grasses like to grow in, you know, that range of a good soil. The closer we get to between 6 and 7.5, the healthier our grass is going to grow, the better the environment is going to like. So think about it like this. You like hanging out in your air conditioner, right? When it's hot outside, you like to stay inside where it's nice and cool and the air is dry, it's not so humid. Well, those are the conditions that you like to live in. Well, your grass is the exact same. There are certain conditions that it likes the soil to be, the soil likes to live in, just like you do when it's hot and humid. You like to be inside where the air conditioner is. All right, so I guess the next question is, how do you know what your pH is? How do you measure your pH? Well, I recommend doing a soil test every single year. Now, it doesn't really matter when you do your soil test, all right? You can do it in the winter, you can do it in the fall, you can do it in the spring. It doesn't really matter. What I recommend is doing your soil test right before you make your first application of anything for the year. Typically for me, I like to do my soil test in January or February time. And the reason why I like to do that is because I want to start off with a neutral base. I don't want that soil test to be picking up anything else that maybe I've applied recently to the lawn. You know, it's had a couple months now to kind of settle, everything's absorbed. All of the fertilizers or anything else I've added to the lawn are pretty much gone at this point. So I'm starting out with a neutral base. But the most important thing is you have to do a soil test to know what your pH is. All right, so now we know what pH is. We know why it's important. Now, to answer the question that you came here to see, can you change your pH? And the answer is absolutely yes, you can change your pH. I want to preface all this by saying, if you get your soil test back and your pH is high, hang on one second. If you get your soil test back and you've got a really, let's say, alkaline soil and you need to lower your pH, I don't want you to freak out, all right? It's not the end of the world. Everything's gonna be okay. Take a deep breath. When we start adjusting our pH, this is something, what I want you to think about as a long-term goal. This is something that we wanna move over time. The soil pH, look, God created the earth millions and millions of years ago, right? And so it's gonna take some time to be able to move your pH. Now there's products out there that say they'll move it fast or whatever, and maybe that's some marketing, I don't know. Again, I'm not a professional. I just know based on my history and what I've done in my own personal lawn. But I will tell you, generally speaking, it takes a very long time to move your pH. So be patient. Every year you do a soil test, you're gonna find out what your pH is. And all I want you to do is be moving and thinking about moving your pH towards the correct direction. You know, a lot of people, a lot of DIYers will say, well, I just throw down a bag of lime every time I put down seed. And here's the problem with that, is that if you've never done a soil test and you're adding lime to your soil, which is lime is going to raise the alkalinity, how do you know that you need to raise it? Are you just doing that because that's what they told you to do? So again, do a soil test and that'll help you determine what direction and then how much. And again, we'll talk about later in the video, you know, how much to put down and where you can go to get some help. But when it comes to raising or lowering it, if you want to lower your pH, say you had an alkaline soil and you wanted to lower it, you want to move it in this direction, you use something called elemental sulfur. You just add that to your lawn, let it water in, and over time, it slowly works its way through the soil and changes the soil composition and lowering your pH. If you need to raise your pH, like we do here in Western North Carolina, you would add what's called lime. But there's all different kinds of lime. And lime raises your pH. So if you had an acidic soil, something under that 6 or so, you would want to use lime to raise your pH. So when is the best time to adjust your pH? Well, there's a lot of controversy around that, and I'll give you basically my thoughts. There are 2 times of year that I would recommend changing your pH or adjusting your pH. The first time is right after your soil test, and that's usually when I like to do it. So I'll typically do my soil test in January, February, and then I'll go out and make maybe a lime application if I need to, and I'll do that in maybe February or March time. And the reason why I like to do that is because it gives it all throughout the year to soak into the soil so that by the time I get to my next soil test, I'm already seeing the results. Now, the other time of year that's the best time to do it is when you overseed, when you aerate. And the reason being is because all those little holes that you punched in the ground help get that lime or elemental sulfur down into your soil because of those holes, right? You can imagine that lime or that elemental sulfur is gonna fall down in that hole and kind of work itself and get penetrated deeper into the soil a little bit faster. What you don't want to do is apply anything to your lawn when it's under stress. So don't apply lime or anything else to your lawn if it's really, really hot outside or you haven't had rain for a while. It's just not a good idea. Generally speaking, we just want to stay off the lawn anyway, so don't be correcting your soil in the middle of summer or anytime your lawn is under stress. Now, as I mentioned a couple times, where do we go for help? How do we know how much product to put down? My suggestion to you is to reach out to a professional. A lot of manufacturers on the back side of a bag will make recommendations based on your soil type. Do you have a clay soil? Do you have a sandy soil? Do you have a loam soil? And they'll make recommendations for where your pH is, where you want to move it to, and then approximately how much product you need to put down or how much to move your pH 1 point. My suggestion to you, and the best thing that you can do, or the thing that I do, is reach out to my local turf extension here in Western North Carolina. And for me, that's NC State. Every state has a local extension office, and those guys are professionals. They know exactly what they're doing, and they know the soil in your area better than most anybody can. So reach out to them. It's always a good idea to make contact with them anyway and develop a relationship, because those guys, again, they're the professionals and they know better than just about anybody. Tell them your situation, tell them what your soil pH is, tell them that you're wanting to move it to whatever particular range, and then they can help guide you on telling you how many pounds of product you need to put down per 1,000 to adjust your pH. Don't be surprised by the amount that they tell you. You know, for me, I had to put down 100 pounds of lime per 1,000 square feet to move my pH in the right direction. Now, I was a little taken away at 100 pounds per 1,000, which seems like a lot, but again, it takes a lot of material over a big area to be able to change your pH. So, you know, again, back to the guy who just puts down a bag of lime whenever he throws down seed. It's not really a good idea. So make sure you reach out to a professional and ask for some help, and I know they can help you. I hope that helps answer the question, can you adjust your pH? Again, if you find the video helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving it a like. I would really appreciate it. My name is Devin. I'm the DIY Lawn Coach, and I can't wait to see you in the lawn. Peace.